Skull Nation, stop right now. US Bank Stadium just erupted, and the next 9 days will shake this entire franchise to its foundation. 3 stories are colliding right now, and the first number you need to hear is 77.6. That's the pass rush grade of a man whose future in Minnesota just got a very loud verdict. The Vikings' edge rusher room is a puzzle nobody can solve. A first-round pick with 8 sacks can't find a starting spot. And J.J. McCarthy, former 10th overall pick, former starter, former face of this franchise, may be on his way to Los Angeles. If you scold louder than you breathe, hit like and subscribe right now. We start with the verdict on Jonathan Greenard that every Vikings fan needs to hear. Stay locked, there's a double cliffhanger at the end. There's a verdict in Minnesota's edge rusher room, and it came from 2 of the most respected voices covering this franchise. The player at the center of the debate? Jonathan Greenard. And the question that's been hanging over US Bank Stadium for weeks. Should the Vikings trade him before the draft or lock him in for 2026? Here's what the numbers say first. Last season, Greenard posted a 74.2 overall defensive grade from Pro Football Focus, placing 31st out of 115 qualified edge defenders in the entire NFL. His pass rush grade came in at 77.6, good for 18th in the league, while his run defense grade of 77.8 ranked 12th at the position. He finished the year with 47 total pressures, 4 sacks, 35 hurries, 8 hits, 24 solo tackles, and a forced fumble. Those are not the numbers of a player you casually ship out of town for draft capital. Think about what that production means in context. Edge rushers who grade above 75 in both pass rush and run defense are rare commodities in this league. You don't find them in the mid-rounds of the draft. You don't sign them off the street in August. You build around them. ESPN NFL analyst Louis Riddick said exactly that. He pushed back hard on the fantasy of trading premium pass rushers for assets and simply replacing them. Riddick said that when you have guys like Jonathan Greenard, Dallas Turner, and Andrew Van Ginkel, those are players who have game-changing ability at a premium position, and you can get drawn into playing too much fantasy football when you start talking about moving them. He said it's not always that easy to just replace that kind of talent, and that he prefers developing players, arriving at fair market value, and building around them even when the contract feels a little uncomfortable for both sides. That's the voice of experience talking. The Athletic's Alec Lewis was even more direct. He said the Vikings should not trade Greenard unless they can get a first-round pick in return, which he does not expect to happen. Lewis pointed out that Greenard's pass rush win rate, quick pressure rate, and run stop rate all improved compared to 2024, meaning the sack total undersells what he actually brought to this defense. Lewis also made a critical point about insurance. Dallas Turner took a big step over the back half of 2025 with 8 sacks, but expecting him to immediately reach Greenard's production level is lofty. Beyond Van Ginkel, Jalen Redmond is currently the only other reliable defensive lineman on this roster. And then head coach Kevin O'Connell ended the debate himself. When asked directly on March 30th whether he expects Greenard to be on the roster this season, O'Connell's answer was simple and clean. "Yeah, I expect him to be part of our team." 4 words. Case closed. Do you think keeping Greenard is the right call, or would you take a first-round pick and bet on Dallas Turner? Drop your take in the comments, and if you believe Greenard is too valuable to move, smash that like button right now. But Greenard staying doesn't solve the bigger puzzle at the edge rusher position, because there's a 23-year-old first-round pick with 8 sacks who still can't find consistent playing time. And the Vikings' own play-by-play voice just said something that should alarm every fan in this building. Dallas Turner was supposed to be the future of this defense. The Minnesota Vikings traded up to get him in the first round of the 2024 NFL Draft. He came out of Alabama as one of the most electrifying pass rush prospects in years. He led this team with 8 sacks last season, and he still cannot find a full-time starting role. That disconnect recently pushed Vikings' longtime play-by-play voice Paul Allen to say something blunt and uncomfortable on his podcast. Allen laid it out plainly. The Vikings want to play Turner, but Greenard is better than him until proven otherwise. Andrew Van Ginkel, Allen argued, is probably the best of the 3, with him and Greenard being 1 and 1A in whatever order you prefer. And then Allen dropped the line that should echo through every film room in Eagan. He said he's just not sure the Vikings know what to do with Dallas Turner. Read that again. The franchise's own play-by-play voice doesn't know what the plan is for a first-round pick in his 3rd season. That is not a minor comment. That is a flashing red light on the dashboard of this defense. And here's the part that makes it even more uncomfortable. Turner is 23 years old. He is entering his 3rd professional season. At this point in their careers, elite edge rushers are usually taking over games, not watching from the sideline trying to find their role. The window to develop him on a cost-controlled rookie contract is not infinite, and every game where he plays limited snaps is a game this franchise cannot get back. When a team drafts a premium pass rusher in the first round, the entire financial model of the roster is built around getting 4 to 5 years of elite production on an affordable rookie contract. That financial advantage is supposed to allow the front office to spend big money at quarterback, receiver, and offensive tackle. If Turner only plays rotational snaps through his first 3 seasons, Minnesota will never maximize that value. The clock on his rookie deal is running, and every snap he doesn't take is a snap that window closes a little further. Now, to be absolutely clear, Turner is nowhere near bust territory. He produces when he plays. His athletic ceiling remains enormous. The problem is entirely about roster construction and rotation design. Greenard is staying. Van Ginkel is a starter. So how do the Vikings put all 3 on the field in a way that maximizes every single one of them? Brian Flores is one of the best defensive minds in football, and that is the puzzle he has to solve before week 1. One option is trade. Moving Greenard before or during the draft would immediately open a full-time role for Turner. But O'Connell just said Greenard stays. So the answer has to come from creative package design, specific situations where Turner rushes alongside the veterans, and a coaching staff that commits to getting him meaningful snaps even when the game plan doesn't demand it naturally. Do you think the Vikings know what to do with Dallas Turner? Or do you agree with Paul Allen that this is still an unresolved mystery? Drop your answer below. If you think Flores figures it out and Turner becomes the star this roster needs him to be, smash that like button right now. Because the edge rusher room is complicated enough on its own, but there's a quarterback situation developing right now that could send shockwaves through the entire NFC, and it involves a former 10th overall pick and a very specific destination in Los Angeles. J.J. McCarthy's time in Minnesota may be ending. And according to Fox Sports NFL reporter Ralph Vacchiano, the destination could be the Los Angeles Rams. Vacchiano wrote it clearly. The Vikings sure look like they've moved on from the former 10th overall pick by signing Kyler Murray. And given Kevin O'Connell's success rate with quarterbacks, maybe that's a red flag for the rest of the NFL. Let that sink in. The same offensive genius who elevated Sam Darnold from journeyman to near MVP candidate has now decided that McCarthy is not the answer and Murray is. That is a signal that cannot be ignored. But here's the full picture on McCarthy that makes this trade conversation genuinely interesting. He is still young. He has only 10 games of NFL experience. He came into the league as a highly decorated college quarterback, and O'Connell's system is exactly the kind of structured, weapons-heavy environment where a developing passer can thrive. The Rams represent a fascinating landing spot for precisely those reasons. Matthew Stafford is 38 years old. This is almost certainly his final season in the NFL. Los Angeles is a legitimate Super Bowl contender, and right now their backup quarterback is Stetson Bennett. McCarthy would be an immediate upgrade in that room, a young signal caller who could learn under Sean McVay's offensive genius while sitting behind one of the greatest deep ball throwers of his generation. McVay has a track record of maximizing quarterback talent. Jared Goff went from being called a bust to winning a Super Bowl ring after McVay got done with him. If any coach in football can unlock McCarthy's potential and make him a legitimate NFL starter, McVay is near the top of that list. And here's what makes this trade particularly interesting from Minnesota's perspective. The Vikings are not trading McCarthy because he is worthless. They are trading him because Kyler Murray arrived and the depth chart shifted. McCarthy still has legitimate starting potential, and any team acquiring him knows they are getting a young quarterback with upside, not a reclamation project. That distinction matters enormously when it comes to what the Vikings can realistically expect in return. Vacchiano also noted that questions remain about whether Jimmy Garoppolo will even return to the Rams this season. So the backup quarterback spot in Los Angeles is genuinely open, and McCarthy checks every box as a developmental option on a contending roster. Now, this is a rumor sourced to Vacchiano at Fox Sports, and no official trade talks have been confirmed. But the logic is airtight on both sides. The Vikings need cap space and draft assets. The Rams need a credible backup and long-term succession plan. McCarthy needs a fresh start with a coach who can rebuild his confidence and develop his game in a low-pressure environment. Every piece fits. So here's the question Skull Nation needs to answer right now. If the Vikings trade McCarthy to the Rams, do you feel better or worse about the direction of this franchise? Does Murray plus the trade assets get you more excited than McCarthy's upside? Drop your honest take below. And if you believe Kevin O'Connell made the right call moving on and going all in on Kyler Murray, smash that like button and let the doubters hear you. 3 stories. One defense trying to answer 2 questions at once. One former first-round quarterback heading toward a fresh start in Hollywood. And a franchise that is betting its entire 2026 season on a decision made in this offseason. Greenard stays and anchors the edge. Turner needs to find his role before the contract window closes. And McCarthy walks out the door carrying the potential of what might have been, headed to a city where Sean McVay might finally unlock what Minnesota never could. That is a franchise in motion. The NFC North will not slow down and wait. Detroit is hungry, Green Bay is reloaded, and Chicago is building something loud. Minnesota has 9 days until the draft rewrites the roster again. And every decision between now and April 23rd sends a message about whether this front office is truly ready to compete for a championship. Here's what I need from Skull Nation right now. 1. Smash that. Like if you believe Brian Flores solves the edge rusher puzzle and this defense finishes top 3 in the NFL again in 2026. 2. Drop a comment with your answer to the biggest question on this roster. Does Dallas Turner finally get his starting role this season, or does he spend another year waiting behind Greenard and Van Ginkel? 3. Subscribe, because every subscriber we add makes Packers fans furious, and we are about to own the entire NFC North offseason. But here's where the cliff gets steep. If the Vikings trade McCarthy before the draft and the return is only a mid-round pick, was it worth taking him 10th overall just 2 years ago? The front office has to live with that answer publicly, and the fan base deserves to know. And on the other side of that coin, if Dallas Turner doesn't get a defined role by training camp, how long before the whispers about his future in Minnesota start getting louder than the applause? The next move this front office makes will define the tone of the entire 2026 season. Skull Nation, the draft clock is ticking. Subscribe, stay locked, and let's make the NFC North bleed purple. See you in the next war.